Hey folks, Daily Landsblog for the 7th of June 2021. As we record this, it's the 6th of June 2021, which means that 77 years ago, it was June the 6th, 1944. And that, in my head, in my life, in my awareness of the world, is one of the most important days in the last couple of centuries, because that was D-Day. That was the day that was kind of the beginning of the end for fascism and Hitler and all of the nightmares that went with that. And there's not a ton of people that are still alive who experienced D-Day, who, we could say, hey, you know what, thank you for saving the world in a lot of ways. But I was thinking how different the world was then. And I asked myself, how different was it when people came back from World War II? In general, they didn't talk about their experiences because they were too difficult to talk about, too difficult to assume that anybody could possibly understand who wasn't there. And when I think about that with mental health, I kind of think that in a lot of ways, we're still at that point. We don't tell people what we feel, what we experience. When we have severe depression, for instance, we don't tell them because we don't believe they could understand it, and because our ability to speak does not sometimes covering the depth of pain that we would need to experience. So, like, I study World War II because I'm fascinated by it, and I realized that when you came back, you could never really explain what it was like to see and experience the things that you saw and experienced. And I think in some ways, to some extent, that's what many of us experience when it comes to discussing what has gone on in our head, our experiences. It's like you just can't understand it. Sicknotweak.com, 24 hours a day, 350 days a year. I want you to know that I'm not making the point that any of our experiences are like those that experienced D-Day and beyond. I am making the point that their trouble communicating in some ways relates to our trouble communicating. It's just hard to find the words.